everyone, this is Daisy, aka the Professional High Priestess, and oh my goodness, today I have to drop a channeling about what's currently going on regarding the United States and this pending war that we're going to be having with Iran, aka World War III. And I want to provide a different perspective on the situation, and I want to provide some folks with some insight, moving forward, okay? So, supposedly what's been happening is, let's talk about the whole thing with Iran and the United States in the first place. Supposedly the issue is that Iran has these nuclear weapons, and America is also a military power, and literally like the fight is over who's going to have control over what country's weapons or whatnot, or, trying to get Iran not to utilize their weapons. Now, Iran is different from other Middle Eastern countries in the fact that they're not, they speak Farsi, they're Persian, it's right next to Afghanistan too, right? I grew up with a lot of Iranian folks, Persian folks, very kind people. On top of that, they're trying to make it seem like, oh, this is Middle Eastern, it's about religion. No, because actually there's a lot of folks in Iran who are even Christian. They speak Farsi. They have different type of cultures. There is also a strong indigenous force there too. Okay? A lot of remnants from the Ottoman Empire. So, I'm not going to go too much into that. If you want to learn more, there's dozens of documentaries and videos and etc. that are out there to talk more about Iran and the Iran-Contra situation that happened so maybe 20, 30 years ago to learn more. But at the end of the day, those of us who are enlightened and we understand these things from the 5D know that the political is just a distraction from the etheric and the spiritual. They put all these different leaders and conflicts in our face to see what's going on, but all of this is being orchestrated by larger forces. These larger forces are the royal families, the Rothschilds, right? The DuPont families, etc. The royal, I wouldn't even call them royal. They're mainly, a lot of them are inbred. They're connected to lower vibrational galactic systems like the archonic spirits, the draconians, etc. But they're just royal because they have a lot of money that they've generated from killing people, doing money rituals, etc. Right? So my question that I was asking, because everyone likes to talk about the details, I want to talk about the larger facts that dispel all the details. Like, for instance, with this whole impeachment drama, people were like, yeah, Donald's going to get out of office. I'm like, okay, but what about Pence? But what about Pence? But what about Pence? Oh, well, we're going to have another election in 2020 and we're going to get them out of the office. But what about the Electoral College? What about the Electoral College? At the end of the day, the Electoral College makes a decision about who's the president, regardless of the popular vote. Oh, well, Russia interfered and they shifted the election and they did this. Okay, but how did Russia shift the Electoral College? They were still going to make that decision. And this is what I'm talking about, the distractions that people love to be engaged in to make it seem like they have some type of control and understanding of the situation when they don't. You really don't. You have no control. You have no real understanding, because if you were, you wouldn't even be engaged in those type of conversations, because it's a distraction from the real issue at hand, which is the fact that war is a money ritual, okay? So, there's a documentary that I'm going to post in the comments, and it's called Real Secret Societies Diaboli Operandis Intermedi. Very powerful. Like, if you got to have time to watch that, because you will be glued to the screen. But it clearly outlines, specifically for the Holocaust and World War II, because remember, we're going into World War III, so they're showing you in that documentary how they created these things. Basically, the United States wanted to increase their stock in the German steel market. They purposely, we're talking about the Ford family, the Bush Prescott family, the people that created the Federal Reserve, these royal families that I just named, the Rothschilds, etc., that own all these companies, all the news outlets, etc. They've been at this for hundreds of years. They wanted to increase their stocks, right? What is going to increase the value of metal if it's being manufactured? Okay, well, what can we do so that, metal and steel is going to be manufactured en masse? Oh, shoot, let's start a war, because people are going to need metal for the boats, for the planes, for the bullets, for etc., right? So the Bush Prescott family and the Ford family came together with their little other minions that they are all a part of these skull and bone societies, these secret societies, etc., that really start in these university campuses, okay? Let's be real about it. These fraternities or whatnot got their friends together and was like, hey, we need to start a war so we can make more money because our stocks are not going up right now. So what they did was they installed Hitler. They installed a tyrannical, narcissistic leader into the German government that they knew was going to cause enough conflict that it would spark global outrage, right? And they're like, well, you know what? What is going to be the propaganda that we utilize, to drive this machine? Let's persecute the Jewish people, right? Unfortunately, the Jewish people were the ones sacrificed in all of this. But at the end of the day, it really wasn't even about the folks being Jewish. It was they needed humans for their sacrifice, for their money ritual. You see? Because even till this day, Germany is still sitting on all of the gold teeth, jewelry, etc., caps that they stole from these Jewish people when they put them in the internment camps. It was economics. They tried to use that whole ethnic cleansing as a cover-up. No, it really wasn't about them being Jewish. It was really about the fact that we had a stock of people that we could already persecute, who are already being persecuted. We could just use them. Because guess what? The individual that created the theory for Zionism, I'm going to find out his name. The man that invented the theory for Zionism, not only was he was a Jewish man, but he was funding Hitler's brigade. Come on now, this is what I'm talking about. They've always been in cahoots to cause conflict, chaos, and drama because it's a money ritual. They have to make it seem to the public like, it's international affairs and it's politics. That's why people who be getting so involved in the nitty-gritty details, I already know not to pay you any attention because you're not looking at the bigger factor, the higher purpose, the larger energy. Because common sense will tell you, despite global politics, isn't it wrong that we're killing a whole bunch of people? Like, what is this really doing at the end of the day? Which is what's happening to the Palestinian people right now. They're being used as a money ritual sacrifice. And the United States is using your tax dollars to invest in that sacrifice. Crazy. So, watch that documentary because it goes into detail in terms of how they put Hitler in power. They purposely put someone who was mentally unstable. They funded all of his escapades because Hitler was literally a crackhead. I wrote a whole paper on this. He was not sane for a single minute that he was in that position of power. And then on top of that, you see that they were using the swastika, which is an ancient Buddhist and African symbol. The swastika can be found throughout indigenous cultures. Notice that it's flipped. I wrote a whole paper about this. They utilized the swastika as basically as a symbol and conduit for the energy that they were utilizing and the spirits and the archonic entities that they were tapping into to do their dirty work. Because trust, they were being led by demons. That's the only reason why they were able to do what they were doing the whole time, right? But they utilized that spiritual symbol to let you know that they are working with a higher power to do what they're doing here. Because if you guys didn't know this, Hitler, his mentor was actually Madame H.P. Blavatsky. Helena Blavatsky. She was actually commissioned by the Theosophical Society to go into these parts of the world now where you see all this conflict. It's not a coincidence. She was commissioned to go into parts of Persia, parts of Africa, into indigenous cultures, into Russia, to go and find these different forms of sacred practices and philosophies, etc., so that she can bring them back to the Theosophical Society so that they can then utilize these practices to control and dominate society. When we're talking about Hitler and, the Aryan races and, well, what are Aryans? They just want it to be pure. There's 4 root races. There's no such thing as a race more pure than the other because there's only 4 root races and all of us fall into one of those 4. So this is what I was talking about. He got a lot of misinformation, but that's because he was high the whole time, right? So they installed Hitler there, knew he was going to cause problems, knew he was going to cause instability, right? And then when the whole world was like, hey, this shit is out of control, y'all are killing hella people, they're like, oh yep, now here we about to go make some money, our stocks are about to go up, World War II, World War III, World War II, right? Watch that documentary, it's very powerful. Now, it also goes into John F. Kennedy and why he was killed, because he was trying to basically change specific laws that were allowing for these different businesses to purposely cause conflict and war to generate money from oil and metal stocks. It's very powerful, okay? So, the day I actually channeled on my Facebook page, I posted this on my Facebook page that I had a dream, this crazy ass dream. And if you guys look up Your Angelic Karma, she posted about this same, she had a dream too. In her dream, she was the president's wife. In my dream, I was actually in a warehouse and there was all these different shelves and things like that in the warehouse, and I was walking all around. And then there was like a clearing for the shelves, and there was like a group of men huddled behind these shelves having a private meeting. Why was it Donald Trump and a whole bunch of these other world leaders? And in the dream, I felt his energy and I teleported out of there. I was gone. I was like, oh, hell nah. But remember, as I was walking around, I was hearing some of the bits and pieces of the conversations that they were having and the plans that they were plotting. I posted that on my Facebook. Less than 3 days later, the airstrike. Information about the airstrike came out. Y'all think that this is a game when we channel stuff? It's real. Like the ancestors and the divine be trying to give us warning and messages. I got a whole bunch of other channelings, but I'm not even going to put that out there because people are not ready for what's about to go down next. right? So after the airstrike, literally the U.S. Stocks for artillery, ammunition, metal, etc. shot all the way up. Because remember, they already had all this stuff planned, y'all. Remember, I told you it's a money ritual for them. War is a money ritual. The United States economy thrives off of war. So of course they have to sacrifice a couple individuals, thousands upon the millions, right? If anything, they have to sacrifice them for war in order to run that ritual that's going to generate the profit through the sales, etc. of the machinery and the metals and the oil and the food, etc., etc. It's a money ritual. And unfortunately, what do you mean it's a money ritual? Okay, in a money ritual, you need a conduit that's going to access the power to bring the money to you. You need a conduit, meaning you need a talent or a sacrifice, right? Usually a human being, okay? And what you do is you create or you strike fear in that person during the ritual, and that energy of that fear feeds the ritual. Because remember, the ritual, you're harnessing basically an energetic entity, a being that's going to help bring that money to you. But at the same time that you program that entity and that being, it's also bringing karma. That's why you see a lot of people that do these money rituals, they end up losing their mind. Mental health all fucked up, etc. because they played with a double-edged sword, basically. Because now that entity wants more than you bargained for. They want another life. Duh, eye for an eye, right? So the trauma and the suffering created within war, going into other people's countries, striking them down, bullets flying, etc., etc. All that trauma is culminating and it's being absorbed and eaten. Because now, remember, we're beyond money and debt. We're beyond physical money now. A lot of these different actors and players and a lot of these deals being made, they're being made in ether, in spirit. We're talking about whole hoods have already been sacrificed. Flint, Michigan, for instance. Whole countries have already been put on the chopping block. Okay, well, you know what? I need 20 million humans. You got 40 million humans. Let's figure out what we're going to do for people to be able to die, for there to be a disaster, etc., etc., because we need to feed the spirits that we've been working with that are keeping all this going on. Because remember, a lot of these world leaders, they're being handled. They have handlers. So even Donald Trump and all his madness, he's being handled, right? Even these presidents and these leaders going back and forth about Donald, they're all in cahoots with each other. Hush. And they got y'all confused with the nitty-gritty details. None of that shit matters. Death is death. Ritual is ritual. Stop trying to chalk it up to world politics. Chalk it up to foreign affairs. There's no reason for it. And we know this. So I needed to put this channel link out there so that y'all understand what's about to happen next. This is all a ritual. It's an energetic ritual. It's a money ritual. Money is energy at the same time too. Okay? The first level is the money. The second level is the trauma and the spirits. Right? Because remember, we talked about this. In a lot of the different channelings that we posted earlier, trauma is energy and motion, right? So if I could traumatize you, that's a specific energy now that you're going to be carrying and that I can steal from you. Right? Think about the people in Syria. Look how they've been reduced. Look how they've decimated a whole entire group of people. Right? And the trauma that's even still in that land today, but it's all over oil. You got to clear these people out because the oil's underneath. Yeah, money ritual number one, but on the other level is, okay, the handlers, they got to eat too. So, hey, that's a double-edged, we kill two birds with one stone. We got our money from the ritual, and then they get to eat and feast. So, for all of you that want to get involved in this current conflict and all the things that are currently going on, I suggest you not. If you feel compelled to get involved in that 2020 election and all these different discussions, I suggest you not. The quote-unquote conspiracy theorists, which is basically the truth tellers, have been discussing this for years. It's nothing new. They've been saying, once you start to hear Iran in the news, just know that that's World War III. We're here. Pluto conjunct Saturn, we already saw it coming. The destabilization of governments. So what is this all leading up to? Because you guys know that their purpose is population control, decimate people, eliminate people, etc., right? The entity that's trying to hijack this planet, they go from different star system to star system doing the same thing. Well, the entity that is running this planet, okay, like I said, the war needs to happen, but also too, that they're moving towards that one world government. We already see it. And like I was talking about the Theosophical Society earlier, the Theosophical Society helped to birth the UN. They have the same exact members. Y'all are not paying attention to history. That's the problem. We're looking at these people and, oh, what did they do? And the contributions that they made. Look deeper. Who were they affiliating with on a day-to-day basis? What were the different groups that they were affiliated with? The neighborhood groups that they were affiliated with? Childhood friends, etc. That's how you're going to be able to get a bigger story into what's been going on for hundreds of years here. It goes as far back as ancient Egyptian days. They've been planning this type of stuff. Creating and crashing empires. That's all that this is about. So I'm going to leave it there. We're going to do a deeper video into trauma and energy and sacrifice, because y'all need to really understand what's going on here. Don't get your energy involved in the ritual. Fear is a huge part of this ritual too. The fear mongering that's going on in the news. I'm not saying don't educate yourself, but really, how much is too much? How much is necessary? Pay close attention, because that energy and that fear that's generated in you, that they're also using that too. And you're sitting right in front of the TV, which is a vortex. Energy gets put in, energy can get pulled out, if that makes some sense. They push the energy out, they pull the energy in. Pay attention. The chakra system is how this is all working. So that's my channeling for today, y'all. Enjoy.